All right. Hello and welcome to the inaugural IDPguys.org rookie mock draft review. We're going to hopefully be pumping these out at least once a week is our goal, maybe even a couple times a week leading up to and especially post-draft. So hopefully we'll get you all your rookie information here and dive into picks we like, picks we didn't like, players we like, players we don't like. We're trying to do between 10 and 12 team mocks here, and hopefully also including with some IDP players coming up in the near future here. But for right now, we've got all offense, 4-round, 12 team, linear rookie draft, and let's get into it with everyone we got here. So we got Michael and Brandon joining us. Michael, why don't you start off? Just give us your intro.
Yeah, my intro is one to remember, I swear. So yeah, I'm Mike Sicoli. I joined IDP Guys in February 2022, so still fairly fresh. I've been hosting I'm a rookie in a way. I feel like I should be drafted, maybe not first round even in this class, but I've been hosting a weekly podcast building up to this draft as well. So yeah, just really excited to get to this final day, 2 weeks out almost.
I know. What's the name of your podcast and where can we find it?
Yes. So it is From College to Combine. It's posted every single week on IDP Guys. So follow, subscribe there on YouTube. Hit that notification bell. Every Wednesday night, every Thursday morning. Notification bell feels awfully 2015-ish, right?
Yeah, I know.
I'm just old fashioned, I guess.
Nice. All right, and then Brandon, thanks for joining.
No problem. Yeah, so I'm Brandon Haye. You can find me on Twitter at HayeB3, as it says right under my face right now. I've been with IDP Guys since February or March of 2021. So this is my second year of doing kind of rookie profiling. And, I've kind of gotten a little bit of that. And also I have what's supposed to be a weekly podcast. We've missed a week here or there, but we've done 17 episodes. It's called Decoding Devy. We've done some film breakdowns leading up to the draft, and then after that, we're going to talk about college in the off season and going through that, and that can be found on the IDP Guys, wherever they have their podcasts listed, and also on their YouTube channel, so you can find it there.
Nice. Yeah, I listen to both your guys' stuff, and it's really great. So thank you for being a part. Now you also have your WT Fantasy podcast as well, right? Including Decoding Devy, and that's where we kind of poached this particular rookie mock from, right?
Yes, that is true. That was during the season every week, kind of gone every other week, but now that the draft is coming, we do it once a week. And this one, we on Easter, I was sitting around with my family. I thought maybe there's some other bored people, so this is Superflex. I didn't say it, but it's tight end premium. And what I'm trying to do is get a few of these done by next week, and then kind of do an average and then kind of like show the differences and everything. And I think it's been interesting. The first one we did this, I don't know, it was probably about a month ago. It was very similar. Only about 2 quarterbacks went, even though it's Superflex. So it's
very
interesting because some others don't do that. So that's a little, about what we did here.
Nice. Yeah, full disclosure, I saw the post to get in on this, and I was very excited, finishing up some delicious Easter dinner, and then fell into a bit of a food coma and woke up about 20 minutes too late. So you'll see my picks in the middle there. I'm at the 1-7, Brandon's at the 1-5, and Michael's here just helping us analyze the draft here. So my team, unfortunately, was auto draft, but we'll get into how things took shape here in a second. Yes, I thought so. You can see the first round here. There's only 2 red squares for quarterbacks, which in a Superflex rookie mock is very interesting. I feel like, well, obviously post draft a lot of stuff is really gonna shake out, but I feel like this draft was probably full of what looks to be some sharps here, because I feel like your average rookie draft in a super flex, you're not going to see the quarterbacks go as late as they did here. What do you guys think?
Tend to agree with. I mean, it's a class. We all know it. We've been saying it for months.
Right.
But I'm working on a mock right now, and I'll actually going into that, through day one on my Wednesday show. Tune in for that. But I'm starting to think that we're going to see more QBs go in the first round, whether they should or not, more than we expect. Like I think either Matt Corral or Desmond Ridder is slipping in. I think the Steelers are getting more and more likely at taking one at 20. I think the Lions are very prone to take one at 32 to get that fifth-year option. And if someone gets that first round capital, that's when I'm interested. I'm not in love with the prospects, but you got guys like Ridder that can move. Corral is also a mobile guy. Sam Howell can get on the move. Obviously, Malik Willis is can do that, and Kenny Pickett's not slow by any means. So mobile guys will get you fantasy points in Superflex. I'm going to take chances on them. You don't have to be great to be a Superflex asset. So I think we could easily see 3 or 4 names pop in the first round come post draft.
Very true. What do you think?
Steve, I wanted to ask you, since you missed out on the draft, even though you signed up, just messing with you. Would you have picked a quarterback instead of Spiller?
Believe me, I was very disappointed in myself too. I mean, I personally am not a worshiper of quarterbacks at the altar of quarterbacks in Superflex. So, especially with Willis going there, he probably would have been my only target in the first round to begin with. So, no, I don't think I probably would have taken a running back or a wide receiver there at 7 with Willis off the board already. My guy is Sam Howell, but I just don't believe in him enough to take him in the first round right now without seeing that landing spot or draft capital. So no, I think I would have passed on a QB there.
I will say too, I'm not the hugest Malik Willis fan. I get why people are picking him high based on the potential. That I wouldn't necessarily do that, but this is one of the lower spots I've seen him mocked for Malik Willis because he usually goes pick 1 or 2. So even though I don't love him, if he had fallen to pick 5, I might have had to think about it there. I think that's the spot when I'm doing rookie drafts. If he falls to 5 or 6, I might take the risk there. But in the top 3, I probably wouldn't. So, and like you said, it's interesting because a lot of people think 3 or 4 quarterbacks are going to go in the first round, but then some of these fantasy drafts, they don't necessarily have them up there. So, it'll be interesting. I would think someone like Spiller, if he falls like we're kind of thinking he might fall in the first round. So then maybe that puts a quarterback up there. But I do agree, draft capital is going to, probably change a lot of this.
For sure. Yeah, I think everyone's playing it conservative right now. And, if we could talk strategy for a second here, for Superflex leagues, obviously the theory is quarterbacks don't come any cheaper than the startup or your rookie drafts. Beyond that, if you're trying to trade for one, it's usually going to cost you a decent amount. So I get that school of thought. However, I also subscribe to the thought, again, that you can win in Superflex. There's countless examples of people winning in Superflex with those mid-tier quarterbacks with strong lineups surrounding them. So I think, as most things, it depends on your league settings, your scoring settings, the depth of your rosters. If you are playing a mixed with IDP league, I think that devalues even in a Superflex with IDP. I think you can win without top tier quarterbacks. So that's sort of a quick strategy discussion there. I'm just especially in a weaker class like this, I'm not rushing, especially pre-draft. If you are in the leagues, which there's not as many out there that do the rookie drafts pre-NFL draft. So I think this is a great example of how it would look for most people actually doing Superflex drafts pre-NFL draft.
Yeah, I completely agree because, none of these guys were excited about as prospects, but if they get the capital we're interested in and they have the 3 to 4 year leash, they have the time to develop. And that's where I think all these guys, maybe Kenny Pickett being the exception, we want them to have that longer leash, especially Malik Willis with someone like that sky high ceiling. So I I think you're absolutely right. This reflects it. We're being conservative right now. We're taking prospects that we view better because I put this on IDP guys video last week, and that's the last throw tag I'll throw in this video. But
plug away, my friend.
Yeah, I mean it's you take value. You don't draft for need in the rookie draft. Like if you need a quarterback, but all of a sudden you're sitting there at I don't know 6. I'm not rushing to draft Kenny Pickett. If Treylon Burks is there at 6. We're going to get to him. I'm going to smash pick Treylon Burks at 6 over Kenny Pickett. Yeah. And I don't care about my roster at that point. So it all depends how the board falls.
How about even for the so now we'll start with the 101. If you're in need of a quarterback, are you passing up Breece Hall for Malik Willis? Either of you guys?
It might have to take a Houston pick for Breece Hall to get that much link off of him. But no, I don't think so. Honestly, Breece Hall seems as much of a sure thing as it comes in this draft. I'm all about Breece Hall. I've warmed up on him I originally had Kenneth Walker as my RB1 pre-draft, and just the receiving concerns, I just have to push it down, a spot down. But Breece Hall is such a well-rounded player, long track record of being great. He's just as safe as it comes in this group.
Yeah, I'd go with Breece. I've been a big Breece fan. Even before last college football season, people were trying to push Spiller above him, which I never understood. And the worries with Breece was that he wasn't going to run as fast and he wasn't going to test as well. Well, his testing was crazy. And once he did that, I was like, more people have changed their mind now. He's definitely number one for me. I don't necessarily worry as much about where he'll go. I think he's kind of, he might not have the lead back role, but he's going to, have definitely good, rookie value and could be, back end running back one his first year if he went somewhere like Atlanta, maybe even Miami, something like that. So yeah, I would definitely take Breece first. But for those that take Willis first, I understand it. It's just a little too risky for me.
There we go. So we got consensus. Breece Hall 101, all formats, baby. We are not worshipers at the QB altar in Superflex here at IDP guys. So that's the easy one. So now we move on to pick number 2, where I know we're going to get some fireworks already. We had someone take Drake London in a Superflex league at the 2 spot. What do we think?
I'll let Brandon take it away because Brandon, we spoke a little bit before the show, but I'm fired up about it, but someone has more fire than me for this one.
All right, I'm going to put a disclaimer. I'm not saying Drake London is a bad player.
Oh, I think that's what you are saying.
I want to preface it. I think he can be a fine player into that, but I'll just say in my wide receiver rankings, he's wide receiver 6. I think. Let me just say, I'll just throw everything out there right now. I think the Pac-12 defense is trash, and I think a lot of times when I watched him, they would throw short passes to him, and people were 10 yards off of him. And he is a physical specimen. I'll give you that. And I think short to intermediate, he's pretty good. But deep, he just outbodied these corners. I just don't know if he could do that in the NFL. And I think the way the NFL is going with receiver, they want the faster. Quick twitch kind of guys that can get that separation. And I wouldn't take Drake personally. I wouldn't take Drake London in the first round to maybe pick 10. So this was very high for London for me. And, at Pitt, I would rather have Malik Willis than Drake London. I'm not overly high on Malik Willis. So I guess that's my little rant.
Nice. I like it. Very spicy. Actually, not that spicy at all. I think London, he's definitely one of those polarizing guys. I mean, like you said, Pac-10, not, those guys always tend to trick us, right? My boys, we got a professional in Howie Roseman who got duped by the infamous JJ Arcega-Whiteside. So not saying that London's like him at all, but those Pac-12 guys, man, they're all boom or all bust usually, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I see a lot of mocks putting Drake London over to the Eagles again, and repeat the mistakes of Eagles past. I mean, it makes sense. 2 first-round picks. Where who are they going to go with? They're going to take a receiver with one of those, you imagine. But yeah, I mean, for all the reasons you guys said, I'm not going to harp on it too much. It feels disingenuous for us, all 3 of us, to not be true. Like, not one of us should be a truther on Drake London in terms of probability. But I can't get behind him either. I don't know why. I don't know who Treylon Burks spit on to fall outside of this top range of even in real life. But I would take Treylon Burks ahead of Drake London. I would take Malik Willis as well over Drake London. And I'd probably take Kenneth Walker as well.
Yeah, this class feels very like 2020-esque. That's the right year, right? Where we had like Jefferson fall, right? He was 2020, right?
It's 2020-esque if we remove all the excitement and talent of 2020.
Right.
But in terms of
meaning like
someone falling.
Meaning like the fantasy people are split on a bunch of these guys. It seems like NFL is split on a bunch of these guys. I feel like we're going to have a lot of surprises come draft day. And, I feel like the order that they get drafted by the NFL is almost going to be irrelevant, sort of like 2020, where JJ was the, 5th receiver and the last of the first or second to last one of the first round. And he's the number 1 dynasty wide receiver for most people. So that's just kind of the feeling that I'm getting similarly here with this group of guys of like 3, 4, 5 guys that are sort of all middling in the same tier for a lot of people, both fantasy wise and NFL wise. So that can bring us to the next pick here of Garrett Wilson at the 3 spot. He's a ton of people's number 1 fantasy guy. So who wants to take him?
Yeah, I mean, Garrett Wilson's a good player. I mean, he feels as in the same sense of Breece Hall. That's not the extent of my analysis, I promise. But in the same vein of Breece Hall, he feels one of the safer guys in this class where, the worry is his size in terms of his upside of how much he can dominate at, a smaller frame. But, in terms of yards after catch and route running ability, and like he'll separate and he will do something after the catch. So those are 2 things I care about more so the latter. Is that yards after catch ability, and Garrett Wilson's one of the best in this class at it. He wins all across every point of the field. You can line him up outside. You can line him up in the slot. There's really not limitations to his game. Really, the only thing is just size and build. So things like that, if you're good enough, you find a way. And he reminds me a decent amount of DJ Moore, and I have been such a DJ Moore guy. So I do like Garrett Wilson a lot. Yeah,
I like that comp. Yeah, I know, right, DJ? Oh, man, I like that comp a lot. Yeah, the versatility, hopefully that'll help, I mean, I feel like we're seeing a trend where some of these smaller built guys, at least from, I guess, a fantasy, which is sort of correlates to NFL production or should, are seeing, being very relevant and productive players, despite being quote unquote undersized. So, what do you think about the Garrett Wilson pick there, Brandon?
Yeah, I'll make this pretty short. Garrett Wilson's my wide receiver 1. I think the only reason that he's not elite is, he's got speed, but he doesn't have like elite speed like Jameson Williams. Like if he had that, he has everything else. He has, great route running, good after the catch. I think, like people said, he's kind of the safe guy, and I like that pick. I've seen Garrett Wilson usually go pick 3 or 4 in the mocks that I've seen, which is right on line with what happened here.
Nice. All right, so then we've talked a little bit about Wills already. I feel like we probably don't need to spend a ton of time on him. Again, it's pretty good value there, I guess I'll say from a strategy standpoint. I feel like taking him at the 4 spot is probably you're not going to see that too often. So don't hate the value there. I'll say that.
Yeah, and this is about where I take him. We talked a little bit before about where we would take, Malik Willis. I wouldn't take him later than the 104. Like I said, the only thing I'd swap is Drake London for, Treylon Burks, get first round capital. And then I'll feel very comfortable taking those 3 guys, and I'll take Malik Willis right after that, assuming Obviously, Malik Willis is still a first-round guy. Nothing crazy happened.
Right. Yeah. If he's the first NFL QB taken, then it makes sense.
I'll take him as the second, even if he, if Kenny Pickett goes 6 to the Panthers, Malik Willis goes 9 to the Seahawks. I'm happily taking Malik Willis there, and that's currently what I think
very true
going to happen.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. Brandon, unless you have any thoughts, we'll move on to K-Dub 3.
No, the only thing I'll say is for Malik Willis, I don't even think he has to be the first or second quarterback. I think if he gets first or even early second draft capital, like say the Lions in the second round, I think that's fine for me. Because if you're in that first look at Jalen Hurts, I mean, he got a chance and he wasn't as hyped of a product as a prospect as Willis. So for me, that's the only thing I'll say. But I was very happy I got Kenneth Walker at 5. I will say before the combine and everything, I had Walker a little bit behind Spiller, but seeing the speed and everything and how poorly Spiller tested, I think Walker is better, with that speed and everything. And I think there's Brees a little gap. Kenneth Walker fairly good
large gap.
A large gap between Spiller and then everyone else. I think Walker was a very good value for me there at 5.
Totally agree. Yeah, let's not play around with the people. I think Hall and Walker, for me, they're kind of like one. You could call it 1A, 1B, or 1.5 for me. Like they're getting closer by the day. And the draft capital should really shake it out. But yeah, I was higher on Spiller. He was a hot Devy prospect for a couple years, but man, that athletic testing really disappointed and really dropped him. And now I know, just like wide receivers, elite speed for wide receivers, I think we tend to overrate a little bit. We see the top guys who, their speed scores, height, weight, taken into account, are usually pretty good, but they're not 4.3 or lower burners all the time. They're usually sitting in that 4.5, range. For running backs, however, that is way more important. And Spiller, just kind of across the board, disappointed athletically. He's going the third running back off the ranks for most people, but I could see him falling even lower. Walker, everyone's concern, right, is the catching. To me, it feels like a Jonathan Taylor situation where it's not that he can't, it's just that the offense wasn't schemed that way. So not particularly going to hold that against him. And it's why he's so close to Hall, in my opinion. I saw somebody dug up a nice thread regarding some high school statistics for Walker, and he caught the ball plenty in high school. So he absolutely can. He just didn't by way of the scheme of the offense. So I have him incredibly close to Hall, and they're probably my 1-1 and 1-2 over any of the wide receivers, even for me personally.
Yeah, I think Twitter's become somewhat of an echo chamber, as it honestly always has been. But when it comes to Kenneth Walker, where people are, it's a continual debate. Oh, well, he can't do it, and then someone's saying, well, he just hasn't been given the chance. And I think ultimately we have to just collectively decide that he has not shown that he can do it. He has not shown that he can't do it. All that, we have to assume that he can't because we haven't seen it. Like high school, high school is nice, but that,
grain of salt.
A while ago. Yeah, and you like to think that you get him he catch the ball. He's their entire offense. But I think he's the best runner in this class. I fell in love with Kenneth Walker when watching him. I really wish he caught the ball. I know there's a trouble. I wish I had the list in front of me, but there is a somewhat troubling history with running backs that have as low a target percentage as he had. And then people are trying to comp him. Like Player Profiler is starting all the fireworks by comping him to Damian Tomlinson. And LT didn't catch the ball, but there's also 2,000 people weren't throwing to the running back.
2 decades ago, literally.
Yeah, I wasn't born back then. So so to get and
that makes me really old, man.
That makes me feel old too. So
Listen, you guys got to have LT, and I had the tail end.
Yeah, you missed out, man. You should have been born earlier.
I saw Jets LT. You know, like that's not what I want to see.
Oh, that's not the same.
Womp womp.
But all that to say, you know, you can be a good fantasy player by being just a great rusher, and ideally, we like to see Kenneth Walker catch the ball. But it's just not something we can guarantee. So I think 105 is 106 is about where he should be going these Superflex drafts. So I definitely like this pick.
Yeah, I just want to add though, on some instances where the running backs don't get a lot of targets, maybe they have another running back out of the backfield that gets a lot of targets. But Michigan State, I remember I looked this up a while ago. They only targeted running backs like 28 times. And I think Walker had like 15 or 16 of them. So he had the majority. It's not like they were throwing it to another running back. It's just not a part of their offense. So I think that's a little different. Whereas, like, say they had a scat back, you know, kind of like James Cook for Georgia, where he got all the catches, and it wasn't necessarily that way. So that, you know, I think that's a good perspective to look at too.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Then we go on to what, if I was live in the draft, would have been a heartbreaking snipe of a pick right in front of me. My wide receiver one of this class, Treylon Burks. I just, you know, his size, speed score is pretty close to elite. We saw him, you know, from a crappy school in the SEC, dominate Alabama, and you know, there you have to give him some credit for that, despite any other you know, marks against him you might have. So I just think he is sort of close to a full package. I know I think people's criticisms are what his route tree was a little limited, but you know, again, that could very well just be a victim of the offensive scheme. We don't know that he can't do it. If he falls, you know, to a good spot with a good quarterback and good wide receivers coaches, I think this could be a DK Metcalf type steal for some team in the late first if he happens to fall for whatever reason. So
I'm not going to counter anything you just said. I'm going to be drafting Treylon Burks wherever he ends up. This is like
nice.
a 230-pound wide receiver that doesn't run bad routes by any chance. He just doesn't run a wide range of it. But he's terrific after the catch. He dominates against top-tier defenses. He literally has the highest dominator score of the wide receivers in this group in a 92nd percentile, nice. Which means that he's contributing to his entire team's output. He commanded over 30% of the targets. Like there's nothing really that you want Treylon Burks to do more. And people complaining about the 40 time, the 4.55. Yeah, what you wanted? He's 230 pounds. That's not a bad speed score when you adjust it to the weight. And
exactly. It's right in that wheelhouse of the guys, the elite fantasy guys that we've seen, the DeAndre Hopkins of the world, the Devontae Adams of the world. Like he fits smack dab perfectly with all of those guys. So it just feels like he's going to fit right in as a piece of a puzzle as that next, like, you know, top tier fantasy wide out for Dynasty.
Yeah, it's Brandon. You can hop in here because I'll just keep going on and on about you.
Where Burks stands.
Yeah, I mean Burks is number 2 for me.
Okay.
The only my or wide receiver 2. The only worry for me is I always thought he was going to be a first rounder. He might drop to the second round, which ultimately doesn't really matter because I'm not hearing that NFL like hype on him. So maybe, but like Metcalf was there, so I don't have a big deal. And the speed thing, I don't get. I saw plenty of times against Texas A&M, Alabama, when they did play him outside, he burned. And some people complain about him not being a traditional wide receiver. I think part of that is Arkansas lacked talent, so they just tried to get him the ball however they could, and that wasn't necessarily what his like type should be, like screens and stuff. But he still showed he could do that. People love Drake London because his contested catch rate. Well, I mean, look at Treylon Burks, catching with one hand over people. I did a film study on him, and some of his catches it just doesn't seem like it should happen. So I think people are kind of overthinking him a little bit, but as long as he's first or second round, I don't have a worry. If he starts dropping to like the third, which I don't think would happen. But if that was the only time where I would have a little pause. But as long as he goes first and second round, I don't care where. I think he's just has so much athletic ability that he'll be fine.
Now I get it. Go ahead, Mike.
There is still a very good hit rate on second round wide receivers. I agree. The third rounders get a little bit more dicey, but second round wide receivers, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, even Elijah Moore will be in that group. There's just still a lot to like with them.
Yeah, there's no reason he should fall to the third. That feels like that would be totally absurd, unless it was like, the first 2 or 3 picks of the third. But yeah, so I just feel like there's more, going for him than more to be, nitpicked over for me. But hey, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, they're probably both going to be really good guys. Brandon, where can we see your is that tape breakdown on your channel? Was that through your podcast?
It was. What I can do is once we upload this video, I can because I have like the editor things on the YouTube, I can link up that video. Or I can link up a couple of videos where I do the film breakdowns.
We'll make sure we get that in the description, because I think some people would be super interested, who might be on the fence with Burks if they're coming up in drafts and they need a wide receiver and they've got pick 2, 3, 4, 5 and they're unsure of between Burks or London. I think some tape breakdown would be a fantastic resource. So we'll make sure we put that in the link here when we're all finished. So then we come to my auto pick, Mr. Isaiah Spiller. We touched on him. He's definitely kind of free falling for me. If I was here, I probably would have taken Jameson Williams there, or possibly I would have gone between Williams, Pickens, or Zamir White, and we'll hit all those guys as we get to the picks, but those would have been the guys in my queue over Spiller at that point in time, and probably Olave as well. But hey, if you're a running back needy team and you're picking at the end of the first or early second, it sounds like Spiller might fall to that 4th, 5th round landing spot. I still think he's a good player to have. He can catch the ball. He's incredibly versatile. He's just not going to be a workhorse bell cow. Don't be expecting that. Unless some major injuries occur for the depth chart ahead of him, he's going to fit in as like, I'm trying to think of who even. Just more of a complimentary guy. But his versatility should, he's obviously going to be rosterable in Dynasty leagues. Just don't reach for him.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a higher opinion, I guess, on Spiller. I think he could still end up being a workhorse back, but what I saw at Texas A&M is consistency he did not have. Like, there would be times where he would carry, like, defenders, like, 8 yards, and then there would be times someone would, like, a corner would trip him up. Sometimes he runs upright. Sometimes he runs with, like, power. Sometimes, he has good vision. Sometimes he doesn't. If he gets that cleaned up, I think he could be more than a complimentary back, but yeah, he has to clean up some of those things and get consistency to, to really be able to, be a, every down back.
Yeah, to earn that role, he's gonna really have to figure some things out, I think, and possibly, I don't know, get in better shape, get faster. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that. I have on my list of cons, one of them was lacks explosiveness. And when I have that confirmed by athletic testing, that's too much of a red flag for me. And I get, he's only 20 years old, or he just turned 21. He's, in theory, he turns 20, he turns 21 in August, I believe. He could still definitely become even more athletic. That's, so NFL training camp, that could work him into shape. Maybe he's a second half type of guy, but that's not something you want to see going in. I could totally see him slip to day 3, given the, the running backs in this class and, the lack of need for them, honestly. There's not a ton of landing spots like there have been in years past. And I do agree. His ceiling is a 1B. I'm not sure where he fits best. Maybe, I don't know, New England and make it a true 3-headed backfield. Why not?
A team popped in for me. I feel like I'd like to see him maybe land with New Orleans. Be that kind of Spill Kamara who, who's in legal trouble, who, is prone to a little bit of injury, that might be my favorite landing spot for him.
I love that.
Randomly
Steve,
popped in my head.
Steve, I love that. I love it. I haven't even thought about that, but that would be perfect. That would be perfect.
Yeah. Now we, no more Sean Payton scheming up the offense. However, just the touches there, with Kamara, who needs to be spelled practically every game and could very well, he's getting older. He's becoming more injury prone, I'll say. People don't like that label. So yeah, that would be a cool landing spot, maybe in like the 3rd round or something. So now we're going to move it to our boy Steve Fantasy Ladder, who's part of the team. He took Chris Olave. People are enamored with that speed. What do you guys got?
I really like Chris Olave, and everywhere I look, someone's telling me not to, because he's not a early declare. Out of all these top guys, really, with the exception of Jahan Dotson, these guys are they declared as juniors. They're going to the draft. Chris Olave decided to come back after that Justin Fields season, play with CJ Stroud, and he's never put up the elite numbers.
Right.
But he's also been splitting with some amazing Ohio State players. And I get it. You want to see him dominate over Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's also a first-round guy. Jackson Smith is also going to be a first-round guy, a very high first-round guy probably. So, and CJ Stroud, he was kind of still finding his feet. He played well, but it wasn't Justin Fields in that season. Yeah, Chris Olave he's such a good player. Like, he's a good route runner. He has great speed. He's not bad after the catch. You like to see him do a little bit more, but he has good size. It's I see the red flags as much as I see the traits that I admire. But if he gets, I think he'll get 1st-round capital based on how much he's been. If he declared last year, he would have been a 1st-round guy. I think that's a lock. So I don't. I'm not taking him down a peg because his draft value was already high. He didn't need the senior season to boost him into this, in my opinion.
Gotcha. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Olave's my wide receiver 3. Him and Jameson Williams are very close.
Yeah.
And I always thought the NFL was going to like Olave more than the fantasy community, which is coming true. And once Olave ran that fast, I knew he was fast, but I think it's going to be good. And one of the compared players I had for him is Robert Woods. And I think he could. Robert Woods was Buffalo. I think he could be like that, and then later on, really come in, be a wide receiver too, and maybe be more. I think he's faster than Robert Woods, but that kind of thing. He's really good on route running, comebacks, and cut routes. Kind of what Robert Woods, and you can use him a little bit in the running game. He's not the best at yards after the catch, but people saying that he can't do that, I don't think that's true. I mean, he's I think it's always the extremes with that, but I really like Chris Olave there.
Yeah, it kind of feels like how about I'm not great with player comps, but does he kind of feel like maybe a Marquise Hollywood Brown? Is that a fair comp, or is that a reach? Well, I'll say for comping him from as far as a fantasy expectation wise, I'll say it that way. Meaning, I feel like his role in the NFL, he's gonna be that type of a Marquise Brown type of fantasy player where kind of boom bust weeks, very inconsistent, especially maybe the first rookie year. But shoot, if he's Robert Woods with draft capital, that's a great fantasy player to have on your team. So I'll say it from that perspective.
Yeah. And to Brand's point, about the cut route is the most used route in the NFL right now. So if you're good at what the NFL is using, you should be good in theory. And I think he can be a little bit more of a possession guy than the Hollywood Brown, where he could see, that 90 reception range. Could flirt with 100, probably not going to flirt with 100, but he could get that 90 range with some more downfield ability. But it's, I see some Mike Williams with maybe a little bit less of contested catch in terms of where he can be used on the field, especially this past season where we saw Mike Williams being used on different levels. But it's
nice.
I do want to get that 1st-round investment.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Brandon?
I don't remember anymore. So I think I was positive enough on Chris Olave. So we
Got
can move
you.
on.
All right. So then next, again, I feel like it's a good to be, in this middle to end spots in these rookie drafts, especially if you can trade back and gain some capital, maybe in a 2023 picks with what's projected to be a stronger class, because Jameson Williams lands there with the 9th pick, another Alabama stud projected to come out here. So what do we think about Jameson?
Jameson, it's someone that didn't impress me early on, and has, in terms of in my early process of film. Obviously, when you're watching him during the season, you can't be anything but impressed. But I think a lot of his yards after catch wasn't, he wasn't making people miss as much. He was just running by them. But that's not something, that can, I can see that happening on the next level as well with someone like his speed. The ACL is obviously, a big turnoff for that, as well as, I don't put too much stock into the whole, he couldn't get on the field at Ohio State, because we're talking Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and again, Jackson Smith, all guys that, are first round caliber players. It's not the end of the world that he didn't beat those guys out, because as soon as he's got a chance, to the races, and one of the best players in college football. So he did everything you wanted to see him do last year. I kind of wish I saw a little bit more natural elusiveness besides just using his raw talents. But I think, in the right system, he's going to be close to unguardable. And if you can find a QB that can get it to him deep, or even just in the screen game, if you get just the right coach, some pairing. I just want some pairing with Jameson Williams, and I'll be all in.
Nice. What do you got?
Yeah, I think I really like Jameson Williams. I think a lot of things, Michael, you said is true. And I see him where we're seeing Olave could be more possession. I see Jameson Williams more of the big play, kind of like a Deshaun Jackson, where you get him the screens, get him those big plays, but he just needs one play, 150-yard touchdown, and he pretty much gives you your fantasy, production. But I could see him have 3 big games and 1 no game. So I think he could be that kind of receiver, the big plays, but not necessarily get you 15 fantasy points every week. It might be a 25 and a 6, kind of like that, up and down.
Yeah. So he's more of a comp fantasy wise to a Hollywood Browns, or at least his rookie year. It sounds like trying to think of another guy who's like that, but yeah, one of those kind of inconsistent guys. Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's a great value there if you're not scared off too much by what was it, an ACL, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we've seen guys. It's a new era. Those injuries, Achilles are still kind of a career killer, but ACL is not so much anymore. So as long as you're not too scared off by that, I think that's a great value pick. Then we go to, I think, Brandon, you mentioned pre-show, you wanted this to be CE Premium, but not everyone quite knew about that, I don't think. But it looks like Madden knew about that. So he takes one of the higher touted tight ends this year, in Trey McBride. Do we know a lot about him?
I mean, he's at Colorado State. The main thing was he only had 1 touchdown, which is super weird. That might have been fluky. He's a very good blocker. He caught a lot of passes. I will say, before I started doing the film of all the tight ends, he was by far my tight end 1. He's not as much anymore. So if he's going first round there, I'd much rather wait till 2nd or 3rd and get some players some of these went in the 4th, like K. Doughton and Greg Dulcich, I think could have just as good value. So that's the thing with McBride. He's obviously not, have the ceiling of a Pitts. So I don't necessarily know if I'd reach for a tight end in the first round.
See, I feel about tight ends how I think a lot of people feel about quarterbacks in this class, where I am just so not interested. I'm just not. Right. I did a whole show on it. I dedicated 40 minutes of my life to it, and I wish I didn't, because it's like,
give it back.
Trey McBride. I wanted to, because listen, Trey McBride's not a bad blocker. That'll get him on the field, but won't get me fantasy points. And I don't know if he has the athleticism to be that top tier guy. And if I'm taking a guy to be the tight end 8, 9, maybe based on usage, I don't know. It's not it for me. He is my tight end 1. I would take him as such, but I wouldn't be taking him in the first round in a super flex. or a normal rookie draft either. But he would be much closer to that 2.5 range, even in premium formats.
It sounds like the tight ends from this class are guys you're going to want to stick on your taxi squad for probably, their full eligibility. I would be shocked if anyone pops in year one, and probably even year two. It feels like they need to settle into the right situations and maybe learn behind some of these other guys. So, I wouldn't go reaching for tight ends in this class. Which then takes us to Penn State's Jahan Dotson at pick 11. I'll do a quick chime in there. I feel like that's decent value. I probably would have taken two guys that went after him on this particular draft ahead of him. Just tough for me to get behind the smaller bodied Penn State wide receivers. It's a bias, I guess. But yeah, not the biggest fan. I just have a hard time getting behind guys with his profile for me.
Let me just say, this is my boy right here, Johan Dotson. I have him as wide receiver 5 above Pickens and Drake London. I actually did a film study on him too, so I can link that too when we put this up. He had horrible quarterback play at Penn State.
True.
He had over 1,100 yards. He's not as I saw someone kind of say this. I think it might be on Dynasty Nerds when they're like TikTok videos, but they're like he's just a little bit worse than like Garrett Wilson in a lot of things, but he's still really good. I think he's a great route runner. He has really good hands. He's actually played really well against Ohio State the last couple of years, so he shows up in the big games.
Nice.
And I think the NFL is moving towards these kind of guys. You put them in the slot that can separate and just get him the ball. I think he could be used a lot like the Steelers used Deontay Johnson, a lot of quick screens, but he can also go deep. So I could see him that. So, it's funny. Before I looked at film in the offseason, I didn't think Johan Dotson was that good. And then I watched film, and I absolutely fell in love with him. So
you're like, wow, he actually is good.
Yeah. So that's kind of but he kind of fits the type of wide receiver I like. Kind of like I loved Elijah Moore and Rondale Moore last year. I was 1 for 2, I guess. So with Elijah Moore. But yeah, that's kind of my type of wide receiver I like.
Yeah, and he's a lot of fun to watch because his route running, we're talking about spec catches with Drake London, Treylon Burks, huge guys, and we got this 5'11" guy at Penn State going up one-handed with some insane grabs that are just so fun. I don't have him ahead of Pickens, and I would also, as much as I am not a Kenny Pickett guy, purely based on draft investment and the fact that I know for sure Kenny Pickett's value come week 1 will be more than Jahan Dotson. I would take Kenny Pickett a couple spots ahead, where it doesn't matter what I think. Somebody's going to talk themselves into Kenny Pickett in my league. And if I truly want to get out, I can get out, and for a higher price than Jahan Dotson will command, I can get Jahan Dotson plus come week 1. But I do like Jahan Dotson. I have him as a wide receiver 7. It's someone that I keep hearing that he's going to sneak in the first round, and I could totally see it happening. And then it's going to be a little bit more interesting, Chiefs picking 29-30, that could be a real landing spot. But I would take him a couple spots behind, but he's in a very similar tier.
Nice. Yeah, he feels like what kind of the end of a tier of that second tier worth of guys, right? Like so. I feel like he's going to be very interesting based on landing spot. I think he's going to help or potentially hurt him. With between draft capital and landing spot. So I think he'll be a major riser or faller for a lot of people, I think, post draft. So last pick of the first, our second quarterback. Looks like this particular manager likes Kenny Pickett as the second best quarterback. I feel like all three of us are going to disagree with that. I certainly do. The small hands. Take my strong hand. I don't think Kenny Pickett's, got the best profile. He was, took him 4 or 5, or was he a 5-year guy? I feel like he was a 5-year guy, redshirt or whatnot. But took him quite some time to finally put it all together. Maybe he keeps that momentum going in the NFL, but again, with the class being as weak as it is, I've got him at the bottom tier of this class for me, unfortunately.
He is also my QB4. So I think we're all on the similar page, so we don't need to harbor on too much. The hand size has truly scared me, where for the millionth time, because I say it every time I bring it up, it's just because he did it in the windy cities of Pittsburgh doesn't mean he'll do it with a larger ball on the NFL scale with Fletcher Cox or someone bearing down. It's just not the same. You can't compare it just because he did it in college. And it did scare me off of him. I have my QB4. Somewhat he feels the most likely to get first round capital of all the four guys, of the 4 or 5 main guys. But I have Howell one spot ahead of him, as do I with Matt Corral.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. My main worry is that 1 year. Like, is he a 1 year wonder, or did he finally figure it out? It's just like weird because not many quarterbacks figure it out in like year 4 or 5. So that part, I think he's actually quarterback 3 for me. I have Corral, then Howell, then him, and then Willis. But Willis has a higher ceiling, obviously. But just based on what they are right now and not being able to read defenses as well, that's where I'm at. But yeah. We're all kind of in similar agreement.
Nice. I'm going to throw a plug in here before we move on. All these players and more are profiled in the IDPguys.org Rookie Draft Magazine. You can purchase a hard copy, go old school for back in the days of fantasy and marking up your book and whatnot, or the downloadable PDF copy is also available, either version or both. If you want. So check that out. We'll have the link in the description here, but a ton of people put a ton of work into it. It's a really great product, and it's got profiles of all these rookies plus more, plus all the defensive rookies as well. So it's a really amazing product. How about for these next 2 rounds, for the sake of time, in rounds 2 and 3, how about we each pick 2 guys to kind of highlight either guys you like, guys you dislike, one of each, whatever. And then round 4, maybe just grab one guy each and we can all comment on each other. So I'll kick it off because I'm greedy. And I'm going to start with Zamir White. He went at the 2-6 here. Incredible value. I certainly would have taken him if I were in the draft. Wait, it's linear. So no, again, this guy would have sniped me. My bad. Yeah, I was going snake. Yeah, so another heartbreaking pick right in front of me at the 7th spot there. Zamir White, elite speed, kind of similar concerns regarding catching the ball, but with that speed profile, somebody's going to draft him to come in and compete for a starting role, I think, right away. So he's a guy, again, like I said, he's rapidly moving up my rankings. I probably will have him ahead of Spiller, or do already. I have to double check, and probably think he's worth that mid to late first round pick. I certainly would have taken him anywhere from the 1-7 up until that 2-6 pick. So that's my first guy. What do you guys think? Comments on Zamir White?
I like Samir White a lot. I have some concerns with not really as much the injury history as much as I do with, I wish he showed a little bit past that Georgia line, where he gets past the Georgia line. I feel like a couple times he was still getting his feet under him in terms of explosiveness there. But I like him a lot, where you don't normally get guys in the second round of rookie drafts who truly have, 3 down potential. And I think he can do it. I don't think he can be ruled out on third downs, but obviously James Cook did have that role. There are a few red flags, which is why he's in the second round range, but definitely a guy I do like.
I'm gonna say I don't hate him. I don't like him necessarily as much as you guys, but I definitely think maybe he's still getting through that injury, because I think he saw more explosion this last year, so maybe he gets even more. But like you said, with the pass catching, I'm a little more concerned with him than Kenneth Walker, because I watched a couple where he kind of like had some drops. So that's a little bit there, but in that range, that's a good spot.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling like a Damian Harris from a fantasy perspective. Hopefully he's on the field first and second downs and getting those incredibly valuable red zone touches. If he can get those, I'll sacrifice the catching. So that's what I think about him. Michael, you want to grab someone?
Yes, I will. And I will stay on the same theme of a running back and take Tyler Algier, somebody I actually have one spot ahead of Zamir White in my rankings as my RB4. And
Nice.
I was waiting for everyone to catch up to me in community, and it appears I am standing on a lone island waving my flag, and it's fine. I'm fine with it because I think Tyler Algier is a very good player, somebody who put up over 1,600 yards this past season. And that's, again, we just had Zach Wilson leave. You don't have running backs put up 1,600 yards after their best player in like program history leaves, at least in recent memory with Zach Wilson. So I like Tyler Algier. He commanded 10% of the targets as well. He can definitely catch the ball. I wish he was maybe a little bit more elusive, but he has the framework. He has the yards after contact that I want to see. I think he's faster than people give him credit for, but ultimately I have been all about Tyler Algier in this process, and I think Treylon Burks has claimed the my guy of this class for me, but Tyler Algier is right there with him.
He's your number 2 guy, huh?
Yeah,
number 2, your guy.
Left side of my heart, right side of my heart.
Beautiful. You like him? You like Tyler there, Brandon?
I like him better than Zamir White, but I'm quite a bit lower on him. Yeah, I have him as my running back 10.
He's gonna be all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, but I could see him, carving out a role in the NFL. I mean, you see nice things. I think some of the consistency wasn't necessarily there for me on him, but you never know. I think running backs, it's so hard to tell because in a college scheme, like there's been players that ran for like 1,800 yards and didn't get a shot in the NFL. It's just so hard. And I think running back truly, it's going to be based on what team they go to, especially once you get past Brees and Kenneth Walker. So, I could see some of these running backs anywhere from, being running back 4 to running back 10 or 11, moving all, up and down.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the FBS is definitely a concern. Like he set records in the FBS for what he did, but it is the FBS. It's the same concerns we have with Zach Wilson in terms of competition. It still applies to Tyler Algier. I can't totally push that aside. The fact that he dominated lesser competition than, even a Brian Robinson in the SEC.
Yeah, like most of these mid-range guys, all going to come down to landing spot and draft capital there. Brandon, who you want to take?
All right, I'm going to switch it up and go with quarterback. I don't know what Matt Corral did to have fallen so far in people's eyes. I get
tore up his leg. That's what he did.
I know, but I'm just saying I don't get it. The only thing that I worry about for him is the scheme they ran, almost a lot of RPOs, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I think he has good accuracy across the middle. I think he fits his decision making. 2 years ago, he had those 2 games where he had like 5 picks each game. He fits that last year. I think he a little bit of footwork that he needs to fix on long passes. But I saw that same thing with Kenny Pickett. To be quarterback 5, I'm just and from what I hear from the NFL, he might go second round. And if he goes second round, whatever team does that, that's a steal. And if I could, I got sniped on this too because I was going to be so excited if I could have gotten Corral there, at 205. But yeah, Corral is someone I really, really like. And I actually did his profile in the magazine. So I'll plug that too.
Oh, beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, I don't get it either, to be honest. I understand the concerns. The mechanics, I'll just chuck it up. That is there with Matt Corral. But like you said, taking those turnovers down, that was his big concern. He alleviated that. He took care of the ball this past year. And, combine that with his mobility, the leg, he definitely hurt his leg. It'll heal, it'll be a very long time from that injury to week 1. And I do want to throw this out. I've been debating this with some friends. How much stock do you put in the fact that Matt Corral is attending the draft? What does he know that we don't know? Because I won't lie. I'm starting to talk myself into Matt Corral going in the back of that first round. And again, I'm not gonna give away my picks on Wednesday on that show. Tune in, but I'm starting to think that he's slipping in there.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It could be a Lamar Jackson situation, right? Somebody trades back in to grab that value. So that'll be very interesting.
The lines are sitting at 32.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people would like to see him there. If they don't take Willis super early or trade back and get Willis a little later, I think a lot of people would like to see Corral in Detroit there. So, yeah, like it. All right. My second guy I'm going to take is Skye Moore, the wide receiver out of Western Michigan. Small school guy that just blew up the combine and had a pretty hefty production profile there in Western Michigan. So he's kind of that name that a lot of the Twitter clan likes, but a lot of, more less experienced players might not know that name too well. So I just kind of want to get it into people's brains. If he goes, early third or earlier, I think that's a great sign. If he's more mid to late third or later, that might be a red flag. And I might be off him a little bit, but I'm hoping he gets that good draft capital. So yeah, Skye Moore, Western Michigan, keep his name peeled. If your team takes him and he's kind of a head scratcher for you, don't let it be. He's a really good talent.
Yeah, he'll slide straight into the slot. He's a good route runner. He's great after the catch. The worry I do have, and it's a little bit more with him than some of the guys we talked about before, is the size of 5'10", 195, being a small guy in the slot. I don't know how high the upside is. You have to be a truly really talented, you have to be an upper echelon player to make some fantasy noise at that point. But he's the type of guy that I think will be a very good NFL wide receiver that just might not translate as well for fantasy.
He might have a bit of a delayed start.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but Steve, I love that pick. If you didn't pick him, Michael didn't pick him, I was going to talk about Skye Moore. He's my wide receiver 10. So he went wide receiver 9 here, so right on line. It was interesting watching his tape. He did not look as fast as his 40 was. So that was the thing that kind of but he's really good on contested catches. He's a pretty good route runner. But I do agree with Michael on I don't know his ceiling because they did play him outside at Western Michigan, which worked fine in the MAC, but I don't know if that's going to translate because he's not as sudden as Jahan Dotson, and everything like that. So it's good. He's definitely going to have to, be smarter in his route running, that type of thing. But still, real good value here. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I think we want to see him land with a very creative offensive mind, whether it be head coach or OC. I think that's the types of teams we'd like to see him land with. Maybe, I know it's crowded right now, but Raiders with McDaniels taking over there. I'm thinking I had another team in my brain.
Even the Saints with Pete Carmichael under the helm.
Yeah,
I think we're going to see even with Sean Payton gone, I think we're going to see a lot of Saints old. Pete Carmichael has been there.
He certainly left, a good blueprint. So hopefully, his successor now can kind of fill that in, right? Yeah, Saints have an incredible need for a wide receiver. So we're rooting for Skye Moore to land with a creative offensive mind. That's for sure. All right, Michael, who's your second guy?
All right, I am staring down two people. I'm hoping that Brandon chooses the other one because I obviously can't choose both. But I'm going to talk about Alec Pierce, a guy that I didn't know much about. And then I was, rookie profile for the rookie mag. Let's do Alec Pierce, Cincinnati wideout. And I am very interested in Alec Pierce. He's a big guy at 6'3", 6'4". And, you wouldn't think that he's one of the better downfield threats in this class, but he is. He averaged over 17 yards per catch. He gets downfield in a hurry. He has more nuance to his routes than people might think of someone in that size. Obviously, the big concern is, in terms of he didn't have elite production because Cincinnati really wasn't, moving that ball on offense tremendously. It was kind of a very mixed bag. But I do like the tools that Alec Pierce has. I hope he gets the long enough leash to show it. you know, if he gets that day 3 capital, which he's probably, I do project him in that round 4 or 5 range, it's going to be a little bit harder to break through. But you know, he's a big guy that can definitely work as an X receiver, and I am interested in guys like that.
Yeah, it seems like that team 11 got him at pretty incredible value there. So, especially if you can get him in that range in your rookie drafts, I think that's a smash pick there that late in a rookie draft.
Yeah, definitely. I think his name's definitely started to rise, especially up in like, you know, the fantasy community. I don't know what the NFL community thinks, which that's the hardest thing, because we as, you know, the fantasy content, we might think highly of someone, but it ultimately matters what the NFL thinks, because, you know, if someone doesn't get drafted till the 5th or 6th round, it doesn't really matter if we think they're good, you know, if the NFL doesn't agree. But he's definitely someone that I could see rising up boards.
Nice. Who do you want for your next guy, Brandon?
There's 2 that I want, but one guy I love wide receivers. Like, when I think for the magazine, I think like a bunch of them were wide receivers. And this is someone that the analytics community loves. Mine is Wandel Robinson. Was that who you wanted me to? No,
it was not, but it's okay. I thought you were going to say Justin Ross. Justin Ross was the other guy I wanted to bring up. But go on, Wandel.
Okay, all right. So yeah, he's not that a big guy. He started off in Nebraska running back, but at Kentucky they used him a little bit of a mixed bag. He's kind of I guess my prototype, you know, that I like at wide receiver. He is great after the catch. I think he might be the best after the catch. He also can go down the field. He's not the strongest guy by his size, but he's stronger than people make him out to be. A big thing for him is, you know, kind of like we were saying with Skye Moore, a creative offensive mind, because he's not like your regular wide receiver. You're going to have to find that. I did hear that one of his coaches went to the Rams. So if like they could, you know, get him, he probably wouldn't play right away, you know, maybe in 2 years when someone goes off. But yeah, I just really like his game. And if anyone has not, just look up the Wandel Robinson's highlights from last year. They're super fun to watch. Like I said, you know, he's not that high, you know, on my I think he's like wide receiver 9 or something. But I really do like his game. And, you know, I think he kind of translates to the NFL, getting players in space now.
Yeah, true.
So like I said, it really depends on what team he goes to and being in a creative offense.
Nice. Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said there.
I'm a little bit more reserved, just because in the same vein of Skye Moore, guys like Rondell Moore from last year was a little bit lower on. It's so hard for a 5'8" receiver to succeed, and especially for fantasy football, where the volume isn't there. There might be a gadget play. Again, I think he could totally be a great player, because he is elusive, he is athletic, he is good after the catch. I like those traits, but they come in bunches, they come in key plays, and I don't know if the fantasy value will be there. But, you know, if you can make your hay on one play, that's a talent in itself. So where he ends up will definitely be something I'll be watching for.
Yeah, fighting an uphill battle. Well, go ahead, Michael. Take Justin Ross then for your last one here.
Well, you spoil me now. But Justin Ross, I really – he's a good player in terms of the sense that he broke out immediately. He was on that Clemson roster. He dominated the national championship with Trevor. And, you know, last year, that obviously, you know, 2 years ago, he had the very bad spinal injury, missed the entire season, catastrophic, and then returned, didn't look exactly himself, and had DJU throwing ducks 10 yards above his head, 10 yards below his head. That's what I really just want to bring up, is that Justin Ross did not have a chance last year without bad DJU. And there was a lot of worse QB play. I can't act like DJU is an awful QB, but I think Justin Ross could have been, you know, he's been a rise over the last month. Could have been a much higher pick if he had better QB play, and Clemson just went on fire this past season. So I think Justin Ross is still just as great of a prospect as he was, and I'm still very interested in him if he gets, you know, even 4th round investment, because I think people are looking at him in the NFL right now. He has been rising in mock drafts I've seen.
Yeah, I think somebody will take a chance. I'm right there with you. He's kind of a pound the table guy for me. He was the number one Devy wide. I mean, Brandon, you probably remember this. You're more in that community. He was the number one Devy wide receiver, right? After his like freshman year for at least a year and a half. So the talent just doesn't go away. Yeah, the body might be busted up, but we gotta hope that he, with the NFL staff behind him, that he can just get that figured out. So both those wide receivers for Team One, David Bell and Justin Ross. Those were both great value picks. I like both of those receivers a lot, especially if you can get them at those values.
Yeah, I'm not as high on Justin Ross. Maybe he can be kind of like Zamir White in coming back from injuries, and he starts to get that explosion back. But I will say into the at pick what was it 3-9 on with Tolbert and Pierce, even though I would take Justin Ross over both of those because of we've seen him be elite. I don't know if he can be elite again, but in the end of the third, fourth round in rookie drafts, probably even maybe middle of the third, depending on who's there. I would take the risk on him, even though I'm not as high on him, just because those rounds you're really looking at ceiling, and you just kind of want to hit the lottery on those. And maybe he makes it back. I don't know if he'll ever hit that high ceiling, but. Yeah, Steve, you're right. And Devy, some people in Devy are still holding out hope that he still has that because they got him so high. So, I totally agree on the potential being there. And that Clemson offense did him no favors last year.
Yeah, super unfortunate situation with the injuries there, but I think he's got a lot of people rooting for him because we know that ceiling used to be there, so we'll hope for it to come back. Who do you want with your last guy there, Brandon?
All right, I'm going to go with K. Dotson from Washington. He's actually my tight end 3 there. If you're talking about DJU as being bad quarterback play, Washington's quarterback play might have been the worst of anyone. And I watched him at the tape, and he's a good blocker. I think he kind of could be in the realm, not saying he's like this, but kind of like a Gronkowski, and he can really block, but he's a big body and he's still athletic enough to get down the field. And before this season, he was really highly thought of, and that Washington offense was just a dumpster fire. They couldn't pass the ball. But he still scored, 5 touchdowns, even though that offense was horrible. And if I can get him in, in round 4 compared to Trey McBride in round 1, I'm fine taking that chance on him where they could probably have similar outcomes.
Yeah. I think any one of these tight ends have the potential to be the tight end 1 in Dynasty, post year 1 and 2 even. We've seen it's a tale as old as time, right? I mean, tight ends take a little while to get going in the NFL. Kelsey and Kittle were both, 5th round picks, I believe. I know Kittle was. I think Kelsey was a lower round pick. And both of them took a couple of years there to get going. So, it's for me, the tight ends, it's almost like a dart throw. But hey, if you like Otten, he's going to be on my radar now.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to draft investment. I won't harp onto it because I'm a broken horn with it. I'm not in love with any of the tight end prospects, but if one of them gets high enough draft investment, I talk me into it. Why not?
Let's see. I'll take a 4th round guy, Tyler Batty. I had him in a college only fantasy league last year, and he was amazing for me. He's one of those do it all backs. He can catch, he can handle the rock. So coming out of what is he, Brandon? Missouri, was it? Mizzou?
Yeah, Mizzou.
Okay. Yeah. So in the SEC, playing some decent competition. And he really shined in that last year. So I think he's a good dart throw. He's probably going to fit in more as a 3rd down, change of pace back, at least early in his career. But you know what? Like we've seen so many times before, if he gets a shot at a starting role, he may take it and just never look back. So to me, he's one of those lottery ticket guys you can grab right where that spot is, the 4-4, in your last round. Throw him on your taxi squad and just see what happens. But I would be hanging on to him for a couple of years if he doesn't pop in year one.
Yeah, in the same sense of I forget who you brought up with before, Brandon, but someone that oh wow, and I already lost my thought. But Tyler Beatty is a great he's a good scat back, and I do like scat backs.
Yeah.
There's a role for scat backs in fantasy football. What I was going to say before, and I don't remember who it was with, but just somebody that fantasy community seems higher on, then I have no gauge on how the NFL community is viewing Tyler Beatty. Like everyone wants him to be this, he's going to sneak into, I don't know, round 3, round 4, and he's going to sneak into a James Cook, James White role. But we'll see. I do like him. I think he's slippery. He's a smaller guy that can catch the ball. He's good at what he does. And when if you're good at what you do and you specialize in what you do, there's a role for it, especially in today's NFL.
He'll hang around on a roster. Like I would be shocked if let's say he goes the Kenny Gainwell route, right, and slips to like the 5th or even 6th. I would be shocked if he got cut by whatever team drafted him. So I think even if he doesn't get the draft capital, he hangs on to a roster. And like I said, he's got upside. I do think he's got that upside.
Yeah, I really like Tyler. And since you brought up Kenny, let me just say, Eagles, please free Kenny Gainwell.
Same.
Just free him. Just let him play.
I know.
Let him play. But I really like Tyler Beatty. I think he's the top of those scat backs for me. Just a little bit above James Cook, because I think Tyler Beatty can break tackles better than James Cook. James Cook might be a little bit faster, but I think Beatty can break tackles a little bit more. So I do like him. And in the 4th round, like where you're going, definitely a good player to keep on your taxi squad and, just see if he can develop into something.
I don't mind James Cook, but James Cook cannot break a tackle. That's all I wanted to jump in to say. Oh my goodness. But go on, Steve. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say about Cook too. Like he's a guy that a lot of people are starting to like. I like him, but if you can get poor man's James Cook in round 4 and then grab, a wide receiver, let's say like Skye Moore, David Bell, all I think might be better investments in that late 2nd round than a James Cook. And then you grab Beatty in your late 3rd, early 4th, something like that, would just be my recommendation. So cool. Well, I wish we could have gotten to more people, but I'm about to get murdered by my wife. So I need to bow out here, but I think we touched on a lot of players here and gave some really good advice, both individual player profiles as well as larger picture strategies. So I'm looking forward to doing more of this kind of stuff with you guys. And like I said, hopefully you'll see these types of shows out from us weekly, maybe twice a week or so. And we'll just sign off here to let people know where they can find you guys.
Yeah, you guys can find me, as my name indicates, right there on Twitter. You can follow me at Michael__Scoli. I had 2 underscores because I was really late to it. But yeah, follow me there and check me out as well live. It'll be at on IDP Guys YouTube, but it'll also be live for frequency's sake, as well as IDP Guys. We get the retweet soon enough. Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. I will be doing a full 1 to 32 mock draft of the 1st round, so that'll be a lot of fun. I hope to see you guys there.
Definitely, we'll be checking that out.
Yeah, and Brandon Haye, you can find me at HayB3 on Twitter, and also on my Twitter bio, I have a page with that lists my rankings, and then also you can find my podcast handle on there, the What the Fantasy. And as far as the Decoding Devi, we'll have an episode coming out, I think tomorrow, talking about some of the spring games. And then next week, I'm going to have a special guest on, and I'm going to release all my rookie rankings next week, the week of the draft. So catch that out on the ITP Guys, podcast or the YouTube channel.
Sweet. And then I'm Dynasty Santa. I live on Twitter. I run the IDP Guys Twitter page as well. We'll between me and a few other people. So please follow us there. We're always interacting if you have questions about anything. And then if you check out the site and want to become a subscriber, we've got great rankings. We're compiling ADP for both rookies and, full dynasty drafts with mix between IDP players and offense. So any questions you have access to our Discord channel as a subscriber, which is my favorite place in the world. Some amazing fantasy football minds there giving you advice, multiple different opinions on things to help you, make the best decisions for your team. So just give us a follow. Check out all the links in the description here for the Rookie Mag and some of Brandon's film breakdown. And then hopefully we will see you guys tuning in next week to another rookie draft review. Thanks, everyone. See you later.